Also, is she like snoozing with her face in the water bowl?
Oh my god.
Does she have water?
Not a lot, but yes. Are you okay? What's she doing?
Hello, and welcome to episode 152 of Rhythm Encounter, the RPG fan music podcast. I am your host, Mike Salbato, and we have something a little different for you today. First of all, joining me is Hilary.
Hello.
All right, so what are we doing today, Hilary?
Well, before we get into that, I think we might be getting ambushed.
Oh no, what's that?
Whew, well, all right. I think Shoji and Meguro almost got us there, but we made it, and we are here to talk about new music. The theme today is New Year and New Music, and that was our first track, which is from Metaphor ReFantazio.
We made it as in like we've recovered, because I have not recovered from that yet.
Fair.
Yeah. No, you know, there's been a lot of big games in 2024, and of course this is not one I've made it to playing yet, but man, that's killer battle music.
We're starting off high intensity here, and like I've been a long time fan of all the genre blending and all the cool stuff that Shoji Meguro does, and this is just a great continuation of that with this song. I should probably mention that it is Warriors in Arms, and clarify that this is battle music specifically that plays in ambush situations in the game.
Yes.
So
yes.
Hence our little joke.
No, that's your little joke. I can't take credit for that.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
But those vocals.
Yeah, so credit to Keisuke Honryo, and who is a legit priest, apparently the Myojoji Temple. And interestingly, background here, what he's singing is apparently some variation on Esperanto.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah, which I'm guessing people might or might not know what that is. It is a blend of a bunch of different languages that was popularized a long while ago. And there's debate, like when I was trying to research it, about this isn't strictly Esperanto, like as it was imagined back then. The idea was like this harmonious blend of languages so that people can understand each other, if I'm remembering correctly.
Okay.
And this is a variation on that. So not exactly that, but kind of close. And it works so well.
Oh, it's fantastic.
Yeah, love those vocals. And then you've got the choir, which is Glory Chorus Tokyo. Also very, very impressive. Also littered throughout the soundtrack. So if you like any of that, both Keisuke and the chorus are present in other tracks as well, including the other battle theme for when your party has advantage.
Nice.
But yeah, if either of those elements captured you, then definitely check out the full soundtrack.
The full soundtrack. Actually, let me check my dates here. When is this coming out? I think the full soundtrack actually releases like 1 or 2 days after this episode gets posted.
Oh, perfect. Good timing.
Yeah. So it's coming out a few months after the game, but
one might say we're giving a little bit of warning about when the soundtrack is coming out.
Yes.
So it won't, just pass you by.
You don't want people to get ambushed by the soundtrack release as well?
That's correct.
Right. All right. Well, that was one of your picks today, so thank you for that. We both knew that Metaphor had to be on this episode somewhere, but I wasn't sure where to go, so I'm glad you picked that one. So ambush intros aside, what we're going to do here, we've done this in the past a couple times where we've focused on like some new music. If you've been following the show, you know that we were supposed to also do a build your own RPG. We've had some scheduling changes that necessitated pushing that back a little bit. But that's okay, because we actually already had a plan this year where every few months we're going to we're going to do an episode specifically on new music in between our regular topics and everything we usually do on Rhythm. There's new music coming out all the time, to say nothing about the amount of great games that came out in 2024. And sometimes the new stuff doesn't always fit with the themes or topics. So we thought it'd be good to like have times on the show where we can just like sit down and just talk about like what came out recently, roughly within the prior like 3 months.
I was going to say we're aiming for roughly quarterly.
Yeah, about quarterly. So, everything on this episode came out like around between like October and December, since we're recording this in December. So fall releases, most of them have soundtracks. Of course, Metaphor will. One of these games today doesn't have a soundtrack, and I haven't even heard that one's in the works, but I don't know why it wouldn't be. But yeah, so that's the idea. So we're going to talk about 6 different songs today. Well, 5 more at this point. Just of recent stuff that we like, and we hope you do too.
Yeah, please enjoy. Listen along with us.
Yeah. What we did too, to narrow down what we're picking, like we just compiled a list of like some notable stuff for the quarter, and picked our things from it. But we figured, well, why let that list go to waste? So on this episode and all future new music episodes, you'll be able to find a list of other notable soundtracks and games in our show notes. You'll find those on RPG Fan, but also in your podcast show notes, with either links to our coverage, our reviews, or more info at VGMDB. Because there's a lot there, and obviously we, Hilary and I are happy with these 6, but there's lots of other things worth checking out as well.
Yeah,
just in the last few months,
and it's a good opportunity to keep track and point out recent stuff for us and listeners.
Yeah, exactly. So, all right. Well, that one was fun. We're going to go to, unsurprisingly, favorite of mine, Final Fantasy XIV Dawntrail. While it came out in June, the soundtrack actually just came out this fall. So I wanted to bring Final Fantasy XIV. It's so good with area themes. Like so many of the zones, especially in the recent expansions, just have such great themes. So I'm bringing in one of my favorites. So let's go listen, and we'll come back and talk about it after, as usual. I don't think we're going to mess with the format as much as we did in the introduction today, but it was too good an opportunity.
Thank you.
Yeah. So let's go listen to, from Dawntrail, Ceruleum Smoke at High Noon. And this one's composed by Takafumi Imamura. All right. So that was Ceruleum Smoke at High Noon. That's the daytime theme from Shaloni, a place that last I checked, Final Fantasy 14 players were nicknaming Texas because it's a desert. And like, the idea in Dawntrail is, the world of Final Fantasy 14, like Final Fantasy 11 before it, like somewhat resembles our real world. So the idea of the new world is like, what people called the new world here, which was like the Americas. And this is once you cross a bridge from essentially South America to the North American equivalent, I guess. And yeah, I mean, I guess Texas, like Arizona, like any of those states, there's a lot of desert, a lot of cacti. Although I've certainly never seen any cactars or sabatenders in those states in real life, but that would be cool.
It absolutely would.
But yeah, I really dig this track. It's one of my favorite themes. In the game, it's sort of a weird transition point because like there's a major event, sort of like Endwalker before it, where like around the middle of the expansion, like there's a big shift in story, like something gets resolved and then you go off to do something else, which makes sense, of course. Like everything you did was in the southern part of this continent, and you cross the way and it's like everything's different. You're in this completely different landscape than you've been used to. Everything was like lush forest and stuff like that. Now it's a big desert. The accents are different, which, well, I've heard enough people who take issues with many of the accents in Dawntrail, and I think some people weren't fond of these ones, but it's like they have, a lot of the characters have sort of American accents. Like we're used to all these European ones, but it's like, but what's what they're going for? Like it fits the setting perfectly. I think it caught a lot of people. It caught me off guard, but I was surprised, but I was happy about it. Like it really did, everything from the music to the setting to the way people talk. It's like, oh yeah, like this really is a different locale with different peoples than I was just visiting. But it's so chill. I love the little piano that comes in just once in a while, but it adds something just really fun to the song. Not your typical in any way, like desert or kind of music we hear in RPGs.
So I don't need to give the standard Southwest yeehaw.
You could, but they don't ride chocobos there. They ride like something sort of resembling a bison, kind of, who are big and furry and adorable.
That's very cute.
It is cute. I can't remember if anyone says yeehaw though. I don't think they do, but thematically it would fit.
Thematically yeehaw.
Yeah.
Okay.
It does still fit. So yeah. I know you're not there yet.
I am not there yet.
I don't think you've seen a whole lot of the area, but what did you think about the music?
No, I really enjoyed this track a lot. It took me straight back to like drives I would do with my dad, actually going from Denver to Albuquerque, roughly.
Oh, okay. There you go. See?
So I think it evokes what it needs to evoke for the setting. 100%. And it also really, really, really reminded me of Under the Apple Tree from Crisis Core in a good way.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Just something about the composition of the guitar work with the underpinning rhythm behind it. But those piano accents really, I think, elevated the whole thing. And, I don't know. I know Final Fantasy 14 has incorporated lots of different musical styles and kind of different areas of the world. Because like you said, it's loosely based on things from our world. So I enjoyed it. I'm really happy there was a little bit of this kind of like sort of bluesy, sort of cowboy kind of track. And I think it's a good area theme too, which is why I could so easily picture those drives through the landscape.
Yeah, there was, I don't want to spend too much time on it here. I'm actually very tempted to try to somehow find time in my life to review the soundtrack for Dawntrail, because I think it's notable. And there was a reason beyond just the fact that I like the area themes, but I specifically picked a song that was not composed by Masayoshi Soken.
Yes.
For this one, because he's fantastic and I love it. I love him and his work. But I think like, especially like the last few expansions, like the more the more music that they do, and they keep adding people to the sound team and other composers, and it takes nothing away from Soken, but it's like there are more and more people showing up on these soundtracks who don't get credit, or at least who people don't realize. Like anytime someone hears something from 14, most people are like, oh wow, Soken's great, and he is. But I thought it was really interesting because like I try to pay attention to that, like to who the composers are, and I've been seeing more and more names, like even back since Heavensward. Like there's a couple tracks in Heavensward I love that he didn't do.
Well, I remember looking at some of the Stormblood expansion stuff. I think, and noticing that you I think were walking me through it and like commenting like, look, there are these new people that worked with him that are really good. And I think, stop me if you were going to mention this, but I think the shift like at Square Enix and from Soken and the team is to try and like give credit to all these people that he's mentoring, which is a great thing.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure working on 14 alongside 16 was also like, hey, you know what, this guy's doing too much on his own.
Yes.
But like I just wanted to say, in the liner notes for Dawntrail, Yoshi P and Soken always write a little something, and both of them mention this. They're like, that hey, usually people say it's like, oh wow, like all this great music that Soken did. It's like, but there's other people here. Like I love that it's in the liner notes. They're like, yeah, look through this. Like, look at all the other people that he's been working with and helping out. And like there's a big sound team now. It's not just one person. And I think that's really important. So, yeah, when you're listening to Final Fantasy 14, look up the composers. Hilariously, this is hilarious because it's kind of annoying. All the MP3 tags, when I pulled them off of the soundtrack and imported them, all of the tags list Soken as the artist. They show the right composer in the composer field, but the artist is Soken across the album. And I'm like, okay, well,
whoops.
That I went through all of my files and changed them. But anyway, so I think that's good. I love seeing what new people bring to the table, especially now in Dawntrail, since it's, everything about it is supposed to be a new start for the characters and the players. So getting more people in there and getting other ideas, especially about an expansion, and that's all about discovering new cultures and learning from them. It's great.
And if there's one thing I've learned from Rhythm, it's great to keep track of these things and learn and listen to different composers at different stages in their careers, because you never know what's going to happen or where they're going to pop up.
Exactly.
So really neat to see that in action.
Yeah. Okay. As usual, I talked about 14 a lot. What say we go on to your next pick, Hilary?
All right, let's do it. So this is an interesting shift. We are going from a big game with several expansions, and that's always kind of been known for its music and, kind of has a more modern sound, to a game that didn't have any music at first and recently got a musical reimagining, and that is Wizardry, Proving Grounds of the Mad Overlord. And the composer is Winifred Phillips, and really excited to bring something of hers on. And the track I chose is Heroes in Training.
All right. Well, let us go listen to this.
Well, that was a fun little jaunty tune.
Jaunty is the best word for that, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, very classic kind of like medieval themes kind of going on in this soundtrack, but I love it. I think it's very well done. You know, this comes around a lot in RPGs where people go for that kind of tone. But I think what really elevates this soundtrack is Winifred Phillips' scoring. The way the different parts are written, the variety of instruments she uses, the way she blends them so that certain parts are coming like in and out and supporting each other. I think that really takes it to the next level and makes this an incredibly enjoyable soundtrack.
Right. I mean, especially thinking, I mean, not that this is a Western game, but obviously Wizardry inspired a lot of RPGs around the world. But yeah, I mean, this is a sound that I think you can find in Western games, like definitely this and on our last, this is episode 152. On our quiz show episode, there was another bit of the soundtrack that appeared, and it gives me a little bit of vibes from some of like the taverns in World of Warcraft.
But that was Gilgamesh's tavern, right?
Yeah.
And I recognized, and I was able to get Winifred's first name, but blanked on her last name.
Yeah. Well, now you're making up for it.
Yes.
But no, like, you know, like it's generally it's a sound that we've heard in games, but I think you're right. Like what makes this one stand out is the scoring and instrumentation. Like it's so fun. It just doesn't feel like it's like, oh, okay, yeah, all right, this is another one of those. Obviously saying nothing bad about the other ones, but it's because it's such a common feel and thing that we've heard before. Like it's more important to try to do something different and differentiate yourself. And unsurprisingly, Winifred is so talented and award-winning, right? Would she win?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Like if someone's going to do it, like she was such a good person to bring on for this.
If you're not familiar with her, look her up or go back to the quiz show episode and listen to the long list of incredible credits. That she has. And the other thing worth noting here, I think, is like this is a relatively short loop, kind of short track, right? Which is also important to write something that people won't get sick of, because from what I understand, you might be going through several heroes who might all need training or get in trouble in the maze. This is definitely, I think, at some points an unforgiving like dungeon crawl. So,
I'm sure, yeah.
But what a great soundtrack to go along with this like cool project to kind of bring life to and visually like create the world that this very old game is from. It's just, I love the way it comes together. And between this and our review, I kind of want to try the game.
Right? Yeah. I don't think Rhythm Encounter is quite big enough that we could ever get her on the show. Although if I'm wrong, I would love to be wrong. But it's just the idea of, you know, we see remasters all the time now. And I don't even say that's not even a bad thing. Like I love seeing the things that get remastered now. Some games really could use it, and it just makes us want other ones all the more. Like, where's our re-release of the Quintet games? But in most cases, when you're remastering or remaking games and you're updating the soundtrack, you have something to work from. Taking a game that didn't have music and be like, okay, well, what's this going to sound like? Like, what a cool project that must have been to be part of that, to decide what all these areas are going to sound like when you don't have something to reference.
Yeah, fun. And again, a little bit of a genre shift from some of the other soundtracks she's done too. So that's also interesting to think about as you're listening to it.
Yeah. And also, there's no reason anyone shouldn't listen to it. As always, we have links to, you know, where you can learn more about these soundtracks and our review in our show notes. And in this case, actually, two things about this. This soundtrack actually released in May, but it was this fall where they released a CD version of it, which is like, I don't know, $20, $30 or something. However, if you go on Bandcamp, the soundtrack is actually just available for free.
They're making the digital version free.
Yeah, the free digital one came out in May. Like now, if you want to pay, which makes sense, if you're going to get a physical release, you have to pay for that one. And you can, but if you want to just listen to the soundtrack, it is on Bandcamp for free. So highly recommended.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, I didn't forget. I definitely wanted to bring that up.
I'm really glad no one could see the face I made when you mentioned Quintet.
Oh shoot! I wasn't even looking. I didn't even see the face you made.
It was a very distraught face because I love those games.
Is that a single tear falling down your cheek? I know. Hopefully one day. Hey, there is that new fan retranslation of Illusion of Gaia, though.
Yeah, I'm curious about it.
I know, we got to check it out. I'll dig up a link and put that in the show notes for anyone listening. Not that you're on an episode about new music looking for Illusion of Gaia, but maybe you are. And Kyle Seeley, a former RPG fan person, actually was one of the people who worked on this translation project. So yeah, I want to check it out. But hey, speaking of old games and remasters, believe it or not, I'm saying this to everyone listening and to Hilary, I did not actually intentionally pair these two together, but it sure looks like I did. Let's talk about Dragon Quest.
Yeah.
The only game that we're featuring today that does not have a soundtrack. And unless I missed it, I don't see an upcoming soundtrack for this, and I don't know why. But in November, we got the Dragon Quest III HD 2D remake. My best guess is they're going to do a compilation soundtrack of 1, 2, and 3 when 1 and 2 come out, I hope, because otherwise, why not do a soundtrack? But yeah, it's such a major release for RPG fans that I really wanted it to be here. So we're going to go listen to Alefgard from the Dragon Quest III HD 2D remake. Of course, that is was composed by Koichi Sugiyama. But yeah, get your nostalgia sensors ready, or nostalgia button. I haven't listened as of this recording, but apparently there's something about a nostalgia button in Retro Encounter 449. So go check that out, and you'll probably get the reference before I do. But yeah, let's go listen to Alefgard from Dragon Quest III HD 2D remake.
Slap that nostalgia button.
Slap. Smash that nostalgia button. So yeah, isn't that just beautiful?
Absolutely.
Me, I think if you listen to the show enough, you know that I'm unfortunately not as versed as I wish I was in older Dragon Quest games. I played a little bit of the first one as a kid. Most of my Dragon Quest knowledge and music knowledge comes from the 2 Builders games, which I've dumped dozens and dozens, and that's probably putting it lightly, of hours into it.
It's a good crash course in the music, though.
Well, it is. Like, the Builders games have really great, like, orchestral arrangements and stuff, like this version here. I mean, this song, of course, is in the Builders games. We were talking a little bit, off air here, and I think, Hilary, you pointed out that it was, but this is probably even slower and more like down tempo or something than the Builders ones. Like, it's just really, really, there's just a lot of emotion to it. So I like it. I think there's so much that can be done with these melodies, and I appreciate when you do get something like this. It's a great way of updating and playing with the tempo and the instrumentation, and it's just really, I don't like saying something is just straight up evocative. I feel like you should say it's evocative of something, but whatever. That's what I'm going to say.
That's fair.
Yeah, like
It's evocative of the kind of like a tranquil, mysterious atmosphere that you want in Alefgard.
Yeah, I mean, it's tranquil, it's mysterious, it's comfortable. There's a lot of things. I wish it was a longer loop. Maybe we'll try to loop it. Maybe we'll just loop it twice on the episode. But
that's fair.
Yeah, really, really nice.
It's actually a pretty even significantly shorter loop than Wizardry.
Yeah, our shortest track today. But yeah, so I'm hoping I am hoping that this gets a full soundtrack release. If it's not with 1 and 2, then I don't know when, but still surprising that it hasn't gotten one yet. But
yeah,
we'll see.
I hope you're right, and that we'll get everything together.
Yeah,
that was such a nice little bit of repose as we're going through these songs.
Yeah, well, I figured we'd have the middle of our show here would be like a nice little break before what's about to come up.
Okay.
So another game that came out. Wow, Ys 10 came out like just within weeks of Dragon Quest, didn't it? Wasn't it like late October, early November?
That sounds right. They were pretty close.
I mean, it's so hard to keep track of some of the releases this year because there's just been so many. But
all at once, yes.
All at once. Yeah, like a whole bunch at the very beginning of the year.
And a whole bunch in the past couple months.
Yeah. I keep seeing people talk about like we're planning games of the year kind of stuff. And people are still like thinking about how somehow Persona 3 Reload and Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth and Unicorn Overlord like all came out like just back to back to back.
And right. And then we also have Metaphor and Ys now and like all sorts of.
Metaphor, Ys, the first Dragon Age game in like 7 years or whatever.
Right, Alefgard.
Yeah. A lot of things happened this year. Anyway, now that I've walked all over your introduction of your song, what are we playing next?
So what we prepared for with our last track is Falcom Sound Team JDK with the track from Ys 10. And I wanted to pick something that was not a dungeon, not rock and guitars, more of kind of an exploration kind of feel. And that track is called Facing the Distant Horizon.
All right. Also, if you want to know why Hilary laughed a little bit when she said Falcom Sound Team JDK, go back and listen to our quiz show, Rhythm Encounter episode 150, and it will all make sense because I know you were thinking that.
Yes.
All right. Let's go listen to Facing the Distant Horizon from Ys 10, Nordics.
The quiz show is coming up so often now. right. Well, I had a lot of fun with that. And I felt like it was also a good choice for me to bring on, having hosted the pirate episode of Rhythm before. I
Oh,
I
yeah.
can't get away from the sea, I guess. And despite Adol's bad luck with shipwrecks, I do like the idea of the kind of Viking theme and ship battles.
Yeah, it's cool. It's good that he would have a positive experience on a boat for once. Right?
Yeah. Well, hopefully, depending on how the ship battle goes.
Well, that's true, but at least we have some say in the matter.
Yeah, exactly. So that's kind of the part of the game I wanted to highlight with this, and I do like how musically it bridges kind of like more traditional kind of RPG sort of melodies. Like I hear a little bit of like maybe RPG protagonist kind of Adel in there as well, but also that driving rhythm and kind of the sea theme too that makes you want to kind of swing your arm. Maybe not sing a sea shanty, but something like that.
But close to it.
Yeah.
No, it does. I do like the rhythm of the song, and the instruments are great. The woodwinds, and it's just a lot of fun. It definitely, like you said, it does have a good sea breeze adventure on the ocean feel.
Yeah,
which obviously it's supposed to.
And like thinking back to a lot of earlier games, a lot of them do have kind of like seafaring music, but definitely those tracks were fun. But I think they were a little more repetitive, or at least in my mind, a lot of the early like pirate or sea music from RPGs, and this has some really nice soft sections and interludes in them where like maybe you're taking a break on the ship, or maybe you're watching the sunset, or I don't know, whatever you want to picture happening. But there's some movement throughout the song. It's not just like, yep, we're on the ship the whole time.
Yes, exactly. No, it's a lot of fun. I downloaded the demo, by the way, so we should go play it.
Oh, fun.
Because, we don't have enough to play.
Nope.
All right. Well, that's going to bring us to our last track today. I picked something way outside of what I thought I was going to pick, because I just really wanted to feature it because I think it's an interesting game. Beastieball, not actually completely released yet. It's in early access now, but it is a... Oh, I better see exactly how they phrase it. A turn-based volleyball RPG, and you assemble your team from a bunch of what they call beasties, which are like vaguely Pokemon-esque kind of like monsters and creatures. So you are like, building a team of these different animals and stuff, but you're not, having them attack and scratch each other. They're facing off in volleyball. So the game looks adorable. And for our purposes here on Rhythm Encounter, it's also a soundtrack by Raine, which basically guarantees that it's going to be fantastic. So I brought on one of the versus songs. There's a bunch of versus songs with, facing off against different teams.
So these are like for the different matches.
Yeah. So this is versus the Rutile All-Stars. So let's go listen to that.
All right.
Yeah, so there you go. For a soundtrack as already as big as this, even though the game is in early access, I really had to listen to a bunch to narrow it down. But so many of the verses tracks, I realize they're matches or whatever you call it, but the track names literally start with versus this, versus this. Really, really fun. I'm always a sucker for a good song that can blend like modern instrumentation and music with chip tunes, and this is just such a good example of that. Like the very beginning sounds like you're literally just listening to something right on your Game Boy. And then it builds up, and the chip tunes are there with like the piano,
and then that piano comes in, and they work together in such a fun way.
Yeah, and it's just like it's such a great whatever, it is a battle, right? It is such a great like battle track because it's got such great energy, but it's important that obviously it fits the tone of this game. Like everything is bright and colorful, so it's high energy, but it's still like lighthearted and it's just so fun.
Yep, I'm ready to engage in some competitive sports now. Bye, see you later.
Well, I guess that's the episode. You should have saved that for the end.
Dang it.
Okay, well,
seriously though, can I take this song and bring it back to like the workout episode that we had? Man, I'm referencing a lot of past episodes today, but
that's fine. I mean, we can also put it in like our own like inspirational and workout playlists.
There we go. Perfect. Yeah, I mean, I guess the one other thing that I want to mention is I kept drawing comparisons with the Ekenfell soundtrack because that also had a really fun, not exactly the same tone, but juxtaposition of the chiptunes with piano and with some other instruments, and it's just such a cool little niche. So I'm really glad that we have more music like this and that Lena Raine did it.
Yeah, no, it's just a fun time to be into RPGs and video games in general, because I like that we had to grow up with like chip tunes and then go on to like more and more complex and real instruments and stuff like that in games. And then of course we've just seen a major resurgence in pixel art and chiptunes and retro style games, and not just pixels. It kind of actually went from pixels. I think we're getting more and more into like PS1 style, like low polygon. So we're in that too. But I like that we've gotten so much of that, those like retro style soundtracks. But now this like cool blend, like this is like the musical version of like a 2D HD game where you're blending like the 2D visuals with the 3D setting and just creating something new. So like blending chip tunes with other instruments, I think it's really fascinating.
I do think it also requires like a certain sensibility and a certain attentiveness and a certain intuition from like a composition perspective to blend those two things that don't have a long history of like being blend. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, that's why we're lucky to have people like Lena. Interesting to note, we have, of course, links to this. You can get the soundtrack on Bandcamp, and you can also listen to, if not all of it, a lot of it on Lena Raine's YouTube channel. But on Bandcamp, she has a note at the bottom that because the game is in early access, you can buy the soundtrack. You can get the soundtrack now, but you'll get more music as it's added to the game. So there's 63 tracks already. But owning the soundtrack there, when she adds more stuff later, you also will get that. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I don't know if people typically or often do that on Bandcamp. It's never happened with anything I bought before. Usually it would just be like, okay, well, here's volume 2. So that's
right.
Which is fine,
Yeah.
The Concerned Ape does that with Stardew. Like he'll release tiny little, like very, very small soundtracks for each major Stardew update. I'm like, that's fine. I mean, you made more music. I just think that's a very generous thing to be like, yeah, just buy it now and you'll just get stuff later. So.
Right, and doing it as you go. Like I think you're absolutely right. That's less common.
Yeah.
Not something I've really run across on Bandcamp.
Yeah. So hopefully, I'm not sure when, the game is literally just came out recently in early access. So I don't know when the full release is, since we don't typically review early access games on RPG Fan. But hopefully we'll get someone to review it later and that it's good. It looks really cute. So yeah, there we are. That was 6 musical highlights from the last few months, arguably in the case of Wizardry, but whatever. The CD release is new. But yeah, this was fun. I'm looking forward to doing this multiple times now.
Yeah.
I can't tell you the amount of times that I discover a new soundtrack and I'm like, this is great. Like I want to bring it on Rhythm Encounter, but like there's just not the right place for it. But I want this podcast to be more than just the topics we've done. Like one of our main missions is to introduce people on the panel and of course mostly the listeners to things they might not have known. And not being able to feature newer music, I think it was kind of a blind spot. We used to do it actually like way back in the day, like on really, really early episodes of Rhythm Encounter. We would have a segment at the beginning, like here's some new music before our topic. But of course that would give you, multi-hour episodes, and it was way more work to put together and to release and to listen to. So instead of just featuring a little bit here and there, I think the idea of just dedicated shorter episodes every once in a while is the way to go.
Yeah, and I think it's important to have that component, because it might not quite fit a topic when it immediately comes out.
Yeah. And then we have this like backlog of like, all these things we gotta, deserve recognition.
And I'm looking forward to, different RPG fan staff members and panelists from Rhythm coming through and offering their choices for recent releases.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, due to the nature of this episode, this is probably not surprising, but most of the tracks today were Rhythm Encounter debuts. I brought on a song from Dawntrail many months ago, before there even was a soundtrack. But other than that, all the other games on here today, this is the first time they've been on Rhythm Encounter. So another reason to do this, adding more and more representation of different games. So we hope you enjoyed this. If you have any thoughts on this format, on this theme, how often to do it, like anything you want to tell us, obviously it's something new we're trying out. I would love your feedback. So you can send us any of that at music@rpgfan.com. Coming up next on the show, again, unless we have some other scheduling that has to change, the goal is the next episode will be Bring Your Own. I wrote Bring Your Own. Why did I wrote Bring?
RPG.
Yeah. Okay. Well, anyway, the next episode will be Build Your Own RPG. I don't know what Bring Your Own RPG would be as a topic, but yeah, Build Your Own RPG, where we're assembling a made-up soundtrack to a made-up game with actual music from other RPGs. It's a follow-up to a show we did about a year ago. I already know what all the tracks are, and I'm excited. So hopefully we can bring that to you in a couple weeks. And then after that, we are doing our Music of the Year for 2024 episode. That's going to be a good time because, as you can tell from this episode, 2024 had a lot of great music. As I mentioned, if you have feedback on that, or if you want to reach out to me for anything, you can reach me at music@rpgfan.com. And for you, Hilary, what's the best avenue for people to reach you?
My RPG fan email, which is hilary@rpgfan.com.
So easy. All right. Of course, Rhythm Encounter is not the only podcast on the RPG Fan Podcast Network. We also have Random Encounter, which is bi-weekly on Mondays, opposite of us. I believe the most recent episode talked about Paper Perjury, a sort of Ace Attorney-ish visual novel with really, really cool pixel art. And the sudden, where did this come from, remastered edition of Breath of Death 7. So there's a lot of pixels going on in that episode. Meanwhile, over on Retro Encounter, actually, later this week is when Retro Encounter becomes a bi-weekly show. Our long time host, Mike Solosi, has stepped down from hosting. And while we will very much miss him, he's still technically with the site. So I'm sure we will see him on some future topics. He just is not running the show now. Our features manager and now showrunner, Zach Wilkerson, is taking over Retro Encounter. And his first series of episodes is a game journal on Final Fantasy IX, a much, much beloved Final Fantasy amongst the staff here. So, yeah. So the first episode of that will be later this week on Thursday. And the second one will be 2 weeks after that.
Thank you. And all best, Solosi and Zach.
Yeah. I mean, I can't thanks Losi enough for everything he's done for RPG Fan and Retro Encounter. So I'm not willing to say goodbye because he's not willing to say goodbye yet. So maybe we'll even get him on an upcoming Rhythm Encounter. We'll see. So he's not completely gone, but it is a big change. I know Zach is going to do great as a host.
Hey.
So, please keep listening. There's no way I know who's on the Final Fantasy IX panel. Like, there's zero chance that will be anything less than a great series of episodes. So yeah, Random Encounter, Rhythm Encounter on Mondays, Retro Encounter still on Thursdays, but every 2 weeks now. Meanwhile, you can find RPG Fan on lots of places on the internet, on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, Blue Sky, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Discord. All of the links for those are in our show notes. Our website is rpgfan.com, where you can find RPG news, reviews, of course, all of our podcasts, features, lots of other things. Around when this goes up, I think if our Games of the Year feature is not up, it'll be up very soon after this episode, so keep an eye out for that. Finally, we also have a shop, rpgfan.com/shop. You can get RPG Fan merch and our beautiful review card collections book, which we have been producing with Hyperplay RPG. So go check those out. If you like this episode, we would love it if you could rate, review us, or subscribe wherever it is you get your podcasts. That means a lot to us, and of course helps us, get more exposure and helps more people find the show. So I guess that's about it. I should have thought of a cute intro because I didn't think we were going to do a bonus track for this format of episodes. It would be kind of weird. Unless you want me to just randomly pick something to surprise you with, but I don't have one, so don't make me do it.
Okay.
Do you want to do a bonus track? I will pick one right now if you think we should do one.
All right. I'm going to put you on the spot.
Okay, cool. Well, this was going to be one of my picks anyway, so.
But
I opted not to. But okay, I don't know if we'll always do a bonus track, but I want to do one today because I was very close to bringing this one on. So our bonus track is going to be the single from the upcoming cozy RPG sim game Wanderstop, and the track itself is called Wanderstop, and this is by composer C418, who also does have a name, but he goes by C418. Who worked on Super Meat Boy and Minecraft and some other things. But it's a really cool track. It's our first real musical taste of Wanderstop, which I think comes out in March. But yeah, so that's what we'll go out with. Again, whether we always do a bonus track on these, I don't know. But I'm going to leave you with Wanderstop from Wanderstop.
Yay.
So thank you, everyone, for listening. Hilary, thank you for being here. This was a lot of fun. And we will see you in a couple weeks for Build Your Own RPG.
Yeah, enjoy, and hope this inspires everyone to check out these recent releases. Even if we didn't spotlight it, look through the list. Maybe you'll find your new favorite song.
Oh, that's good. Yes, thank you. I did mean to say that at the end. Remember that there is a list of other recent albums in our show notes. So check those out as well. Thank you. Mm-hmm. All right. Bye, everyone. Enjoy Wanderstop.
Bye.
It's so funny the name calling this place Texas caught on, and no one was more original than that. I wish someone had at least been like, Eorzea in Texas, or it's not in Eorzea, but New Texas. Anything. It's like, no, people are just like Texas. I'm like, okay.
New Texas.
There's lots of other desert places too.
Arizona.
Yeah.
This is giving. I was trying to figure out what soundtrack this reminds me of, and actually, Crisis Core. A little bit. There are like a couple tracks from Crisis Core.
Are we off air right now, or are we going to keep this?
I'm we don't have to keep it. I'll say it again.